Excellent. So welcome to the College of Law Practical Legal Training. As I said before, my name is Jackie Owen, and let's just get started and talk all the details about PLT at the College of Law. And I'll get Anita to monitor those questions because they're up at the top of my screen. Excellent. I'm sure you're doing a wonderful job. Okay, so you probably all know by now that having just a law degree, while it is certainly essential to become a lawyer, it is not enough to graduate with your law degree from whatever university you happen to be studying at and then call yourself a lawyer or a solicitor or a legal practitioner. You will actually get yourself into a little bit of trouble if you do so, and by whatever admitting body or governing body looks after your state. So even calling yourself a graduate lawyer, that's a bit of a juxtaposition as well. So you're either you're not admitted, so that you would be a law graduate and you might be working in a position such as, you might be called a clerk or a name like that, or you have gone through the process, been admitted, and then you are a lawyer. So you can't be a graduate lawyer because you're either a graduate or a lawyer. So you do indeed need that law degree. Then you add the next layer, which is your practical legal training or PLT qualification. That will actually give you a qualification called your Diploma of Legal LPAB. So that you take that, and then you prove that you are a fit and proper person, and that's a bit of a process that you'll go through with the admitting body in your particular state or the state in which you want to practice. And then you will have an admission ceremony, which is a lovely day where you stand up in court and the person moving your admission will stand up and do their part. You'll go out and you'll say the oath in a group, so you don't have to say it on your own. There's no you don't have to be the focus of attention, but the group that's being admitted will read the oath together. You'll go out and sign the roll, and then apply for your practicing certificate in the state in which you are admitted, and that's when you can call yourself a lawyer. So there is a bit of a process after law school, after PLT, and then through to that admissions day. So that's what it takes. So let's go through the details. So here's one that we prepared earlier, a lovely gentleman by the name of Cormac Foley. And he is one of our graduates who talks about how PLT is very much different to university, and Anita will touch on that as well. So at university, you have been learning the theory of law, so you've been learning all about the law, and that is a really good solid foundation. And then if you think about that as a foundation of a house, we then add the next layer that sits on that solid foundation of theory, which is the practical skills that you need in conjunction with that theoretical knowledge to actually work as an entry level lawyer. So lots of our graduates, especially after they've done that initial skills week with us in week one, they're always quite surprised about how much fun PLT is. Yes, it's a lot of hard work as well, but they really like the fact that they are now standing on their feet, so to speak, and getting to experience those practical skills of advocacy and those practical skills of addressing the court and actually doing the law rather than learning about the law. So it's putting that theory, adding the practical skills, and actually learning and practicing in a safe, secure environment how to actually be a lawyer. And you'll have lecturers like Anita who will give you feedback, and they will help you sharpen your skills. And it's a great place to make those mistakes so that when you are actually out in practice, maybe standing in front of a judge or working with your supervising partners within the firm or the organisation that you are working at, you're not making those mistakes with them. You're making them with one of our lecturers who will probably be a little bit more gentle in terms of giving you constructive feedback to make it better and correct next time. So the entry requirements into practical legal training, and I know that you guys were chatting about this just before, you have to have completed your law degree, or you have to have completed your Priestley 11 subjects and have only 2 or less, so 2 or 1 electives remaining in your course. You then also do need to apply to the admitting body in your particular state for permission to come into PLT early at that.
Okay, so I think that Jackie has frozen again. I'm not sure why her internet is playing up, considering we are literally using the same connections. So as we've been speaking about, you need to have completed your law degree or to have completed your Priestley 11 and have up to those 2 electives remaining. Now the Priestley 11 are going to be referred to as your core subjects, your compulsory subjects, or your fundamental, your foundation subjects. So it really is only electives that you can have outstanding. Now there's been some excellent questions about double degrees. So if you are actually studying 2 degrees, it's really only the law degree that counts for the purposes of PLT. So if you have another degree which you're working on and you still have subjects left to do with that, that's not going to prevent you from enrolling in PLT, although I would strongly encourage you to think about what the workload would look like and how many subjects do you have. I would not be recommending full-time study in your second degree PLT, and especially not if you also still have a couple of those electives to go. So there is a limit to what we can manage to accomplish and stay happy and sane while we are working and studying. So I do encourage you to think about that. Now there are actually 3 components to the PLT course, and that is the coursework, the work experience, and the continuing professional education. So I know that we've got some questions about work experience in the box, so hopefully we will answer those as we go through. Now, your coursework is obviously the actual study itself component of PLT, and that's what I am primarily involved in, and that is what you would primarily be working on while you're studying at college. And so that is made up of your 5 compulsory subjects, so the civil litigation practice, the commercial and corporate practice subject, ethics and professional responsibility, lawyers' skills, and property practice. So those are the compulsory subjects at PLT, which everyone has to undertake, and they deal with some of the common things that an entry-level lawyer is likely to encounter in those practice areas. So it's things like, how do you draft proceedings to commence action in a court? How do you buy and sell property? How do you buy and sell small businesses? What are some of the considerations that you need to keep in mind, for example? And then you have 2 elective subjects. Now there are 8 available for you to choose from, and those are administrative law, banking and finance, consumer law, criminal law, employment law, family law, planning and environment law, and wills and estates. And so you choose 2 of those 8 to study. And now one of the questions that we get quite a lot is, what elective is appropriate for me? And the simple answer there is, whatever you're interested in is what I actually recommend you do. If you are working in a particular environment and they work in a particular area, or you have a particular interest in moving into a section, then I would choose your electives based on that. So if you're in a family law firm and this is an area that you think you'd love to practice in, then I would recommend doing the family law elective. If, for example, you're working in an environment, but you really had your heart set on becoming a criminal law lawyer, do the criminal law elective, get some knowledge in that, and you might be able to move into that kind of environment. Now, the electives are different to your university subjects. You can't get credit for having done a family law subject in your undergraduate degree. and then not have to do one of the electives at PLT. Because they are practice-based rather than theory-based, it's a very different approach. And so it's really about learning to think like a lawyer in that practice area needs to, how to actually address a particular issue. So, for example, you might do wills and estates or succession law in your undergraduate degree, and you learn about the rules of succession and what happens if a person dies without a will, and how the process of applying for probate or letters of administration happens. In the PLT subject, you'll actually go about drafting a will, for example. So it's a lot more practical based, focusing on that sort of thing that you'll do as a lawyer, the business of working as a lawyer, rather than the theory that underpins it. All of that theory is absolutely relevant that you've done in your law degree, but we're trying to help you apply that theory into what you actually do to help people on a day-to-day basis. So I hope that answers that question. Now, the PLT course is offered on a full-time basis or a part-time basis. Now, what that means is you do the same amount of work and the same content is just in a different time frame. So a full-time course is 15 weeks from start to finish. It's a little bit longer over Christmas because we do give you a few days off in between that Christmas, New Year's festival period, and it's 30 weeks part-time from start to finish. Now that's just for the coursework. The work experience component of that, or the time you spend in a work experience placement, some can be done simultaneously while you're studying, and some can only be done or might be done before or after, depending on what your particular situation is. Now, there are a number of different ways that this is offered. Now, we are running the PLT program 100% online until the end of October this year. So that was the COVID-19 change. We used to do a skills week. So we have a 1 week intensive subject on lawyers' skills, and that's really practical things like how to stand up in court, how to make your appearance before a judge, how to interview a client, how to run a negotiation, how to run a trial. So we do really practical things. Now, that was previously 100% face-to-face in a room on campus here, which is a lot of fun. We've moved that to online for COVID-safe reasons, obviously, and that's continuing up until the end of October. After that, we will be reintroducing some physical face-to-face options to start with, which is our blended environment. The remaining of the course, so in a blended environment where we run that skills week 100% online via Zoom, very much like this, that is still a 1 week intensive subject. So Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. It's big days, but I think it's a lot of fun. Jackie, do you know where we're up to?
A little bit. Can you hear me okay? Excellent. So you've been talking about coursework. I don't know what's going on with the internet at the College of Law Queensland today, but I will be logging a job as soon as this is over. I do assure you. So, so it sounded like that you were talking about the course requirements, and you've
Yes.
been talking about, I'll just go back to sharing my screen.
Slide 8, Jackie, if you want to jump in there.
Slide 8. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Yes. So this is we're still online for the foreseeable future. So basically, normally you would come into a College of Law campus and do that week 1 intensive workshop week with us face to face in a classroom at one of the College of Law campuses. However, at the moment, because of course COVID, that's fully online. So you're still having an intensive workshop week. It's via Zoom. So in an environment like this, but then week 2 to the end of your course, you'll be working on your own, still online, but not having to be face to face. Have we covered, or between the two of us, all of that? Excellent. So it's really fun. The first week, you get to do all those practical things that you may or may not have done at university, and you're certainly doing it at a postgraduate level. So so that's that So our practice-based learning helps you to think and be a professional from day one. So we're very much about simulating the world of practice, and your lecturers will be like your boss in the future. They will be assigning you tasks and you'll be working through that body of work, and then you'll be submitting it to them as if they were your manager and you were submitting that work to them. Here's some of our Queensland lecturers. We've got over 100 lecturers Australia-wide. These are some of the beautiful faces we have in Queensland, including Anita. And we have some full-time lecturers who were lawyers working out there, like Anita, for a couple of big firms down in the pointy end of town. And then we're lucky enough to have snapped her up for College of Law. She now works for us full-time and has done for nearly 10 years, training the next generation of legal practitioners. But some of these folks are current. They work for us part-time or as adjunct lecturers, and they are still barristers, they're still lawyers, they're still working within tribunals. So they are out there in the practice applying their skills, and then also because they are very passionate about developing the next generation of legal professionals, they also work for us. I don't need to tell you what a Zoom classroom looks like, I'm sure, but this is our very first group working in Western Australia, actually, doing their intensive workshop weeks. And that was back in the days when we all used to dress up for Zoom. Now it's probably not quite so dressy, but you should actually dress the same as what you would if you were coming into a classroom with us. So you are still taking part in a professional, it is your professional face that you need to be putting forward. Anyway, this is actually what the behind the scenes looks like here at the College of Law. So I might hand over to Anita to discuss what this very interesting slide is showing us, Anita.
So this slide is showing us the landing page, the first page of the subject for civil litigation. And so you can see here that it's telling us about the task that we're going to do. So we break each subject up into bite-sized pieces, but to do that, we break it up into a task, which here is about initiating and responding to claims. And within that task, we have a number of activities. So the other little pieces you might do if you were initiating and responding to a claim, for example. So you can see here, there's a little bit of information about what you're going to be doing. And then there are some links to the separate activities. So everything there is hyperlinked. You can jump into those activities from this screen. And you can see there that also there is a button for overview materials. And that is the materials that we have designed to help you with this task overall. So we don't ask you to go away and do a lot of research. We do direct you to the most relevant information right here on the Learning Portal. And it's there for you to access whenever you happen to be doing your work, whether that's midnight in your pajamas or on a Sunday afternoon. You do whatever works best for you in terms of your schedule and your learning style. All right, Jackie? So here you can see what happens once you've actually looked through one of those activities and you've gone through the resources and you make an attempt, you upload the activity, and I'm sure you're very familiar with uploading assignments by now, and then I see it. So I come in the next morning, I have a look at it, and I say, okay, Jackie, you've done some pretty good work here, and I make some comments. So you can see here that there's those little blue dots on the left-hand side there. So that's the submission that the student has uploaded. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the comments that the lecturer here has made in relation to the things that were said. So that's a really common practice. Some of us, and I am one of those people as well, will actually also record a general discussion about some of the common errors, common mistakes, and things to keep in mind for particular activities. And I like to give my students access to that just in case they've gotten things right by accident, because I can't always tell that. And that's just an extra tool for you. So I use a combination of text and audio, and you'll find that different lecturers approach that in a slightly different way, but more or less it will look like this. You'll get some comments, individual comments on your work to help guide you and to improve in your next activity and when you actually do it in practice. All right, what have we got next, Jackie? So this is some of the resources that we actually have on the in the civil litigation subject. So one of the things that you do in your assessment for that subject is actually making an interlocutory application. Now that sounds like a mouthful. What that is when you go to court and you're asking the court to do something, but you're not actually deciding a matter. So it's not a trial, it's smaller than a trial. You're just there and the judge needs to be involved. And so part of the resources we give you to help you prepare for that is actually a video demonstration of taking it through step by step, as well as obviously there'll be links to the relevant court forms, relevant practice, our textbooks, which are the practice papers we call them, so papers about how to practice. And we also actually run through this in our intensive skills week. So we do prepare you as much as we can to be able to approach that with a fair degree of confidence. Jackie? And this is the timetable, which looks like a part-time course. So here you can see that that first week is all shaded in that lovely pale blue. That is our Lawyers Skills Intensive Week. So you are on one side of Zoom or perhaps in a classroom in the not too distant future. And I'm in front of you, either on the computer screen or in the classroom, and we're going through that skills week, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. A lot of fun, a lot of really hands-on interactive participation. And then you can see those green squares. So those are each of the activities you have due for the next subject. So the first subject here is ethics and professional responsibility. And you can see from the very start, all of those due dates are already set out, and all of the resources for you to complete those activities are already there online. So you can start working through them at more or less your own pace. All right, Jackie. So the step one is you receive some instructions from your manager. So that would be in the form quite often of, say, a file note. So if I was the partner or your supervisor in a law firm, I would be writing to you saying, "Hi, Jackie, this file, can you please do XYZ? These are the relevant documents. Thanks. Have it on my desk by close of business tomorrow," for example. And then Jackie goes away and reads those instructions. And that's very much what you get, very much in that style. And that is very much how a lot of law practices actually work. Then, of course, we've already curated the resources for you to help you complete that task successfully. So you jump into those resources and you have a look at what's going to help you to complete that task successfully. And then you do the task. Now, this is the only part I can't actually help you with. You have to actually do it. And then you upload it. And Jackie, you get some feedback. So that's what we were talking about earlier, where you get those little bubble comments on the actual document that you have uploaded. So some comments about what you did well, what you might like to consider, what you might like to improve on. And then the oral assessment. So we've spoken a little bit about that. It's absolutely nothing to be scared of. It is really designed to help build your confidence in having a conversation with a legal practitioner about why you're making particular recommendations, and what you would do in particular situations. And the resources and the activities and the feedback that we've given you is designed to help you pass that assessment with confidence and hopefully not too much anxiety, at least after the first one. Once you've experienced it once, you should be fine. All right, over to you, Jackie.
A lot of our students do say that, don't they, that they need it. Once they've done the first one, then they know what to expect and how to prepare and what it's all like.
And the comment is usually that was not anywhere near as bad as I was expecting. So
exactly. So just keep that little tidbit in mind. So we have a wonderful team of lecturers here at the College of Law, all very experienced legal practitioners themselves. We have barristers, lawyers, mediators, tribunal members. Every sort of area of the legal profession is covered by our staff, and they're all extremely knowledgeable and very approachable. And as Anita said, they are there to set you up for success. They're not trying to trick you. They want to get you through the material, and they want to know that you are going to step out into the profession as a very competent entry-level lawyer, ready to learn and hone your craft out in the profession. So you'll get very practical guidance, and we also have some very practical materials that you're provided with as well. And lots of our graduates do tell us all the time, actually, when we see them out at events down the track in their careers, that they might not have their law school books in their office, but they certainly do have the practice papers and the materials that College of Law provide them, and that they do refer to them from time to time, especially when they're doing things that maybe they don't do every day, and they just use their College of Law materials to go back and remind them how to do it. So we've got three options for work experience. We've got 0 days with an in-practice component. We've got 15 days plus the clinical experience module, and 75 days of work experience with no extra subjects. So this is the discussion we were having with Johnny earlier in the session. So I'll go through the 75-day option first, and then the 15-day option, and then the 0-day option, just to give you a bit of an overview. So the 75-day option is what we call our standard work experience option. So this is a great one if you've got work experience lined up, or you are in your graduate role that you have gained either through as you're about to finish, or through you know, after you've graduated. So it's your job. It's your job that you've got after you graduate from law school. Some people are working while they're at law school as well. So 60 of those 75 days, if you are working either for one employer or 2 or 3 different employers, 60 of those 75 days, you can claim those 60 of those 75 days in the 2 years prior to starting your PLT. So it's not the last 2 years of law school, it's 2 years before PLT, which is why people do tend to come into PLT straight away. So, because if they take too big of a gap, those 60 days will be too far in the distant past. So 60 of those days can be claimed retrospectively if you have them. So some people come to us with 60 days up their sleeve. Some people come to us with 0 days up their sleeve, and everything in between. And then the final 15 days to make up the 75 have to be done either during your PLT coursework time, or you have 2 years after completing your coursework as well. So as you can see with that option, you've actually got 4 years in which to do that 75 days. Obviously, you have to tick off your work experience and your coursework and your CPD, all the components of our PLT course, before you're issued with your completion certificate. So the longer you do take to do your work experience, the longer it is till you're admitted. However, go at your own pace. You're not running a marathon with everyone else. You're just running your own race. So once you've completed those 75 days of work experience, you will then complete a reflective journal on just the final 15 days, and you will submit that, and then that will tick off your work experience. So that's the standard. We also have a short format, which is 15 days of work experience. Now, those 15 days can't be claimed retrospectively. They have to be done during PLT or in the 2 years following PLT. So as you can see, it matches the standard option. The final 15 days for both options is in the is after you start PLT. And then you will also enroll in our clinical experience module. And that, great question from Johnny at the beginning, that will override the other 60 days. So you'll do a body of work as well as 15 days of work experience, and that is your work experience component. Now, because of COVID, there's always a different option because of COVID. When it first happened, and indeed in a lot of states at the moment with the strict lockdowns, their PLT opportunities, work experience opportunities, you know, ebb and flow at the moment. If you're having trouble, there is a current option which is called the in-practice component. It's 0 days of actually going out and working, but there's a different subject that you do, the in-practice component subject, where we match you with a legal mentor, so someone with you know, really significant experience in the legal profession, and they mentor you through that work. So it will simulate the world of work. That one at the moment is available through till June next year. So if you are doing PLT between now and then, you'll have that option. If you're a first or a second year student, please let COVID be over by then. You won't have that one. You'll just have the standard or the short format. So that's kind of a special thing at the moment. So at the College of Law, we're a user pay system. So if you do the standard work experience, you don't pay any extra, you just pay your course fee. If you do the in-practice component, you'll pay the subject for just then you'll add that subject on. If you're doing the short format with the clinical experience module, you'll pay for that subject. So they are actually extra subjects. So you just tack it on at the end. So that's how that works. What counts? And again, you don't have to do all your work experience for the 75 days at one place. You could do 30 days here, 15 days here. You just need a set of forms, which I'll talk about shortly, for each of the placements. So if you've done a summer clerkship position or a winter clerkship position, whatever the season, paralegal work, volunteering at community legal centre, placement with legal aid, working in-house. Some people work as judges associates that first year out of uni, or you might have been working for a barrister with government or working for a tribunal member. So it's as broad as, you know, there's as many sort of different options as there are students coming in, really, because it's very broad to cover all of you in the myriad of different roles that you could be working. So we know you're not giving advice because, of course, you're not allowed to, but you are a cog in the machine of that legal advice. So what we're looking to see is that you've been doing legal research, you have been drafting documents, you have been using a file management system, and you've been having interactions with clients. So and those can be, your clients will be different depending on the role. So if you're working in-house, it will be your internal colleagues within that organization, or obviously if you're working in a firm, they'd probably be external clients coming into the firm. So it's very broad, and at the beginning, there's remote supervision available. So if you are being supervised remotely, you just fill out an extra form to say that this is how you were supervised. This is the contact that you had with your supervisor. So at the beginning of each position or each role, each time period, you'll fill out a form that's basically just saying, hey college, this is where I'm working and this is who's supervising me. And then that's the application for approval. And then at the end of that time, whether it's the full 75 days or it's the end of the 15 days or the 30 days, whatever you happen to be doing with them, you'll sign a declaration. And so all those forms you sign and the supervisor signs, it has to be the same person, because it's not the firm signing you off, it's that individual practitioner signing you off. And they will sign off to say, you know, you'll say, now I've finished, this was my supervisor. They'll sign to say, yes, I as a legal practitioner do certify that this person has met the rules and is of a standard that should be admitted. And then if you're doing the standard format, you'll also do the journal. They will sign that, you'll sign that. If you're doing the short format, you'll then enroll into that extra subject, the clinical experience module, and then you'll go through the body of work for that. So that's how that works. So Anita, are there any questions in the chat or question and answer that I haven't covered or you want me to give further information about?
I think you've covered everything you need to.
Excellent. I'll go back. We'll go.
Perhaps just about how to recognise work that you've already completed.
Great. Yes. So you do the forms all at once. So you can go onto our website. So see down the bottom of that slide, collaw.edu.au/ just change that PLT to downloads with an S on the end, downloads. And that will take you to a page with all of our forms. And so say you happen to have done 30, 40, 50, up to 60 days already, and you know that those days, however many there are, will fall within the 2 years before you start PLT. So let's just say you're coming in, you're planning on coming in this year, November 2021. You will look back to way before we ever had heard about COVID or this coronavirus thing, to November 2019, and you will go back and you will fill out the application for approval for work experience form, and then as well the declaration form. Then you'll go back and see the person who was supervising at the time and ask them to sign the forms. I always recommend, and if you're in your earlier parts of your degree, this is just a little bit of a hot tip for you. I recommend, as you do work experience and you are thinking that it's going to be counted, get those forms completed and sent in. You just scan them and send them into the College of Law. That the email address is on the form. And then you don't have to worry about it. It's done. You don't have to worry about that person going to another job, or you know, it might be a year and a half between the work experience and when you want to claim it. And let's just say if you were there for, you know, a big chunk of time, a couple of years, yes, they'll remember you. But if you sort of zipped in and zipped out for 15 or 20 days, they might not remember you, because they might have might remember you, but they might not remember your work specifically, because they might have had another 10 students since then. And you don't want them to go, oh, I'm not really not comfortable signing it off. I don't really remember enough, because it's a legal form. And they're lawyers and they're taught to risk assess, and they take this very seriously. So get it done if you can as you're doing it, and just get it sent in. It sits on your profile at the College of Law. If you never come to us, that's fine. You know, it's just there. But if you do, it's already sitting there waiting, you know, with that tick for up to 60 days. And then you just have to do the final 15 when you're actually here. So, but if you are thinking, oh, okay, well, last Christmas I did some, get your forms done straight away, get them sent in. So go to that collaw.edu.au/downloads and do the relevant forms. You don't do that final journal till after you've done the final 15. Any more questions popping up there, Anita, that we need to cover regarding work experience?
How long is a work experience day?
Oh, good question. It is a 8-hour day. I think it's actually 7.25. It's actually on. There's some rules on that page. So a regular 9 to 5 day is and you may or may not take a lunch break. Now, if you do a 14-hour day because you are in some sort of a graduate program where they're getting blood out of your soul, that still unfortunately only counts as one day. You can do half days as well. So a 4-hour shift, if you like, is counted as a half day. And you those first 60 days, you have to be doing at least one full day a week. So you could be doing 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 full days, or you could be doing 2 half days. There was a lady once we had, and she was actually working part-time, where she did 4 hours a day, Monday through Thursday. So that counted as her 2 days for the week, which was fitted in really nicely. But you have to be doing, so yeah, if you sort of go in 9 to 5 or 10 till 6, whatever your flexible working arrangements are, that will count as one full day. That's a good question though. Excellent. Well, we might move on to the third part of our course. So coursework, tick that off. Work experience, you tick that off. And then, so they're all sort of, so just imagine like 3 tick boxes under your name, and we have to put a tick, a tick, a tick in each one of those boxes, and then that triggers your completion certificate to be generated for you. And that's what you need to take to get admitted. Okay, so the third part is the your CPE, so continuing professional education. Now, when you are a lawyer, you will be required to do this every year to maintain your practicing certificate, and that's done through the admitting body in your state. So we practice this at PLT, and we are the only legal PLT provider that has this really great business skills component, and we've just added to it actually. It's just really recently been reviewed, and it is now a certificate of legal tech and business skills, which is just so essential. If you did miss our Legal Futures panel yesterday, at about this time yesterday, you will get the recording. So if you didn't listen to it yesterday live, I do encourage you to listen to Terry Modishead and the Centre for Legal Innovation with 4 amazing panelists talking about legal technology in the profession. It's so important these days to be aware of that sort of stuff. So basically, you just work through 10 online seminars and short courses. That'll give you, so once you've done those 10 short courses, you'll learn about getting started with legal tech projects, legal tech basics, foundational technologies, and a little bit of networking and personal brand stuff, which is really important as well, especially for getting that first job or moving on to your second. Really, and you know, and learning that sort of more business commercial mindset. This has been developed under the guide, at the request of the legal profession. You'll get an extra certificate for this, the Certificate of Legal Tech and Business Skills. So it's another thing to put on your resume and on your LinkedIn. And then once you've completed that, really, this is not terribly onerous. You'll just do one a week for 10 weeks, or 2 a weekend, or sit down and bash it all out over a long weekend. Hey, if you're in lockdown, you've got plenty of time to do it. So you could get this done really quickly, and that's the third component of the course. But this new Certificate of Legal Tech, incorporating that with the legal business skills, has been very popular, and we've had some great feedback from the profession as well. Okay, so those are the 3 components, tick, tick, tick. And a really important question that a lot of you are probably asking is, how much does it cost? So these are our current fees. You can, if you're an Australian citizen or permanent resident, use FeeHelp. So FeeHelp is the postgraduate name for your HECS, which most of you would have probably used for your undergraduate course. So as I said, we're a user pay, so everyone pays for their course, which is $9,640. And then if you're doing the standard work experience format, there's nothing more to pay. If you do the short format with the clinical experience, you then pay for that subject, which is $1,530. And the in-practice component is a nice round $2,000. So it's one or the other. You don't do both, hopefully. I was going to say obviously, but I'm very familiar with this. It might be obvious to me, so I do like to point that out. And again, you can use FeeHelp there. And you actually enroll in those 2 subjects later on. So you'll initially do the 9,640, and then you'll add that on at the appropriate time. So here's just some little points at the end to wrap things up. Why study at the College of Law? So we've been part of the legal profession for 40 years. So actually, no, it's coming up 50 actually. The College of Law, it was established in Sydney nearly 50 years ago, established in Queensland nearly 20 years ago, and we are in just about every state and territory. If we don't have a campus there, we do have campuses in nearly every state, but if we don't have a campus there, we will send our staff to teach. In Queensland, we teach regionally as well, and in other states, we are starting to teach out of the CBD as well. We've got very state-specific information and practice papers for every single state. So if you're in Western Australia, you'll get the Western Australian practice papers. If you're in Queensland, you'll get the Queensland practice papers. If you're in New South Wales, and so on and so forth, you'll get the practice papers for your particular state. And of course, we're accredited by every single legal admissions board in every single state. We have a huge alumni network throughout Australia, and it's all about learning by doing. So learning by practicing those skills and pretending in a mock situation that one of your lecturers, like Anita, is your boss, signing you work that you'll be doing and then submitting back. So it's all very hands-on. It's flexible. So like Anita says, that first week is face-to-face with us, whether it's via a computer screen or in person. Please, can we have that back soon? We do miss having you in at the College of Law. It's much quieter, and there's not as much energy and excitement in the air as when we have students here. But after that week, as Anita said before, you could be in your jammies doing it at midnight. You could be doing it from the beach on a Saturday afternoon. As long as you are working through that body of work and submitting it as close to the deadlines as possible, then you'll be working through that. So it's all about fitting it in around your work schedule, your family schedule, your other commitments. And the lecturers are here to support you through that. And you can reach out to them and keep them in the loop as to what's going on with you. If something comes up, you get pulled into a matter and have to run off to court and do something, then you would contact your lecturer and say, I've got to go to court, or this is, whatever's happening, medical situation or whatever, I can't submit that. I can't do that on Friday. Could I have till Monday? And then they'll make those arrangements with you. And we have over, I think it's about 80 to 100 intakes a year, all over Australia. So really, you've always got, I think it's in Queensland, there's only like 1 month of the year. I want to say it's April that we, or is it May, April or May, that we don't have an intake. It's really a month to 6 weeks at the most in any particular state. And New South Wales and Victoria, for example, have more intakes than we do because they've got more bigger student numbers down there. So you really don't have to wait very long to do the next College of Law. So say if you finish at the end of the year, you can start in November if you're graduating from university, or you could have a little break over Christmas and take a breath and just decompress and recharge your batteries, and then come to us in January. So if you just miss a course, you don't have to wait 6 months. So it's not like a university, well, that's it for another semester. We are boom, 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 boom. And you just, enroll in the next course that's available. So there's lots and lots and lots of availability is what we're trying to say there. We also have a wonderful colleague, and actually we've just employed a second person. So by the time you guys get here, there'll be 2 career support people. They are, and Susan Pink is actually our colleague from, some of you will meet her tonight. There's a really great panel tonight talking about how to succeed in your first year as an admitted practitioner. So you'll meet Susan tonight, but she's here for one-on-one consultations and to help you through job interview processes and help your employability skills. We also do lots of stuff like this throughout the year. So tune in, follow us on Facebook, and come to more of these sorts of things. And obviously this week, the Careers Academy, they're pretty much back to back all day, every day for the week. We are the preferred PLT provider of 16 of the 20 top international national law firms in Australia. So we will, instead of having those students come to us, we will pack Anita's bags and we will send her down to the firm, and she will go down there and actually teach that week 1 in a very small group. Sometimes they do come to us under no COVID situations, and we love to have them here too. And sometimes that's because the HR team want to get them away from the sticky reach of their partners, so they won't get dragged into work and have to do PLT and try and work. So but sometimes the lecturers get to go down to the fancy CBD city offices, and they love that because the food's really good. They get fed really, really well. So we are the largest provider of practical legal training in Australia. We're a national organisation as well. So we're coming to you from Queensland, but what we're talking about is absolutely relative to every single state, and the only thing that will differ really is the practice papers. So you'll get your state practice papers, but we're learning those skills rather than the law of the state. And we do support you at every stage of your career. So the College of Law is not just about PLT. You will then potentially come back to us and do your masters. We have very, very, very practical masters programs, so Masters of Applied Law in various different areas of law. And if you've done PLT with us, you'll get a credit for 2 of the electives. So an 8-subject masters becomes 6 subjects, which you can very comfortably do while working 1 subject at a time over a year and a half. And a lot of people do that on the way to specialist accreditation, or just to take that next step in the career. We also do the legal practice management course. We also do tons and tons of CPD. So I mentioned that you will have to do CPD every year. So you'll come back to us and do that either online or in person in some cases. And we also do the mediation courses as well. So pretty much you're with the College of Law all the way through to retirement, and you become part of the College of Law family. And there's different offerings for you at different stages of your career. So those are my contact details. I'd love it if you connected with me on LinkedIn, and Nita Hall would love it as well. If you just type in our names, I'm a Jackie with a CQUI, and you can Nita Hall, spelt ANITA, and Hall like hallway. So you can find us both very easily on LinkedIn. I'd also really encourage you to follow the College of Law on LinkedIn, Facebook. I think we do Twitter as well. And, Facebook and LinkedIn are probably the 2 best ways to keep up to date with all of these other webinars and seminars that we do throughout the year. On top of this Careers Academy week. I'm going to stop sharing, and then that way I can see the question and answers. Is there any?
So I have been responding to the questions in the chat box. However, I have sent it to panelists rather than participants. So I'm
Oh
just trying
dear.
to rectify that. So if you've asked the question in the Q&A, I think I've gotten to most of those, and I'm just trying to fix that for other questions that I haven't covered.
Okay.
Sorry.
So someone said, can you give us a pitch on why we should choose College of Law? I think I've answered that with those points at the end. But if there's anything specific that I haven't covered, please, whoever asked that question, please feel free to ask me more. How does it compare to UNSW or UTS? Look, we don't really like to speak about other PLT providers. We don't know their courses. So I would encourage you to go and talk to other providers and ask them the same sort of information that we've given you here. What I will say is that we are all governed by the same admitting bodies. So we all have to meet the same requirements. It's like when you choose a law degree. Here in Queensland, there's 6 or 7 or 8 or something different law degrees that, and sometimes it's on location, but you'll look at all the different universities and decide which university feels right, fits their brand, fits with your brand, and but essentially the content of the law degree is the same. There's different bells and whistles, and you'll make that decision. So it's a little bit the same with PLT providers. I think I really like the flexibility of the College of Law, and that's, I think, one of the biggest things that our graduates say. The myriad of start dates, the flexibility we are designed to fit in around people working, although some people do it, are not working, so it's up to you, part-time, full-time. Very approachable and less rigorous in terms of you can just go straight to Anita or your lecturer and say, hey Anita, Anita's an ex-practicing lawyer herself. She understands the pressures of working in a legal environment very, very, very well. And from the stories I've heard, and you don't have to explain to her why, well, you have to give a reason, but look, this has happened. But she'll understand as a lawyer herself, and she'll say, look, do you think you could have that in by Monday night instead? And you'll make that arrangement. So it's very flexible there, and we've got the career support with you, and it's just very, very, very practical. And all of our graduates that I've spoken to, we're very glad that they chose College of Law, and it was the flexibility and the myriad of start dates and the practical nature of our course. I hope that was a good summary pitch. Anita's just going through.
I'm trying to, yes.
I'll flick to the top.
So there's some queries, I think, about doing work for a legally qualified manager who isn't actually practicing under a practicing certificate. Now, I've recommended that if you're in that situation and you think you are actually undertaking legal work, to raise the query with Student Services. But Jackie, do you want to speak a bit more to that?
Yes, it depends. If you're working for the government, they don't need to have a practicing certificate, I believe. You still fill out, and believe me, we have many, 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 many students working for the government, and that might be in the situation. So you'll probably find that your situation has been covered before. You're not going to be breaking new ground, which is great because there's a precedent. We like a precedent, don't we? I would fill out the forms and submit them, and have the work experience team assess it and get back to you. If it has to go to the legal work experience committee, they sit every 2 weeks, and they go over the work experience applications that fall outside sort of the regular, so the nice square lines. So anything that might need to be looked at a higher level, sometimes they'll come back to you and ask for further information in some situations, but I would fill out the forms. You can submit a query. It's really hard for people, for you to go, oh, hey, this is my situation, will it count? You need to put it down on a form. So I'd submit the forms and see what happens. Most of the time it's fine, and if they need further information, they'll come back and ask you. Documents need to record these 60 days from Amy. Yes, you go to that documents page and fill out the forms.
So there was a question about the work experience days. So how is 15 days post PLT equivalent to 75 days work experience? Well, Jackie, it's not. Do you want to reiterate that?
Yes, it's not. So you have to do with the 15 days. So you either do 75 days or you do 15 days plus the clinical experience module. So that is a subject. So the 75 days you are doing a reflective journal, but it's like this level, you know, this in depth, because you've done 75 days. It's just reflecting on the final 15 days, or you do 15 days and a subject that's this big. So you're doing a subject, not just a reflective journal. So that's why there's an extra cost for that subject, and it has a start date, a finish date, and there's an enrollment process, and you're doing a body of work. So that subject, that more in-depth subject, overrides 60 of the 75 days. Johnny's asking, is it broad enough to cover just bringing coffee to? No, that is an admin role.
Yep.
You have to be involved in the legal process. So you have to, sorry, I'm talking too long, haven't I? You have to be drafting documents, legal research, using a file management system, and having exposure to clients. Those are the things we're looking to see. You get people coffee, you don't, that's fine too. But
it's great. It's an essential service, but it's not legal work.
It is an essential service, especially first thing.
So Jackie, there's a question here about the difference between the Masters of Law, Applied Law, and other Masters of Laws. Do you want me to take that?
Mm-hmm.
So the Masters of Law, Applied Law is a law master's degree. How it differs from other master's degrees in law at other universities is that, again, it is really practically focused. So if you're doing a Masters of Law in, let's say, family law, you're going to be working through real life family law situations, if you will. So situations you're going to encounter in practice as a family lawyer, and how to approach them, how to make the relevant applications, how to handle that sort of area of practice. So it's not writing 5,000 word essays after doing a bunch of research into a particular area within a subject. It is things like drafting court documents, drafting letters, interviews, those sorts of practical based things. So it's really about the practice of law rather than the theory. So I hope that answers that question.
Yes, absolutely. And we have a lot of practitioners that say that what they're learning in the master's program is applicable. They apply it directly to cases on the desk. I was talking to one lady that had just graduated at an event just before lockdown, and she was raving about it. And she's like, and her mentor, who I think she was a judge's associate years ago, and that judge has stayed in her life as a very close mentor and has guided her through her career, and she's very grateful for that. And he was pushing her to do a really academic master's at a university, and she's like, nope, not doing it. And it's the only thing they've ever disagreed on. And he still teases her about it a little bit, but she's like, I'm just so thankful. And she's now a manager in the firm that she works with, and she is putting all of her staff through the master's program at College of Law. She won't even, I mean, obviously they can do what they want, but she will be strongly encouraging them because it's just so practical. It's not academic based. Obviously there's academic work, but it's for lawyers, written by lawyers, assessed by lawyers, taught by lawyers, developed for lawyers by lawyers. So the College of Law only exists to train lawyers. That is all we do, from PLT through to Masters, through to Practice Management course, through to CPT. We do nothing else but, and a lot of the time in response to requests from the profession, train lawyers. That is what we live and breathe and just live to do. That's all we do. So we don't do anything undergraduates or postgraduate training lawyers. I'm just zipping through the questions. Someone's asked about PLT is tax deductible. Go and talk to your accountant. We are not qualified to give that advice.
That's exactly what it is. So it can be, it's going to depend on your situation.
Yeah. If you're working in a legal firm, I'd say maybe your a good accountant will hook you up with that information.
Correct.
And yes, ATO website. Just flicking through. Is there any other questions that?
I think I've covered most of them. I'm just putting the links that I have sent to various people in. So I've sent a link in the chat box to your work experience forms. I've sent a link to the page which will have the course dates and fees and those sorts of things there. And the one I am now putting in is our resources. So that has job boards, job search information, and a whole bunch of stuff that you can lose weeks of your life learning all kinds of interesting things.
That's right. Jane's asking a really great question. I'm enrolled for October. Welcome, Jane. Welcome, welcome. Does the material get sent to us in hard copy, or do we have to download and print them? It's actually a lot of online resources. You'll get your login and access to that 1 week before you start. What we do here in Queensland is we do say, hey, do you want your practice papers? And if you say yes, we also send those out. But some people don't. So you don't actually need to print anything out. You could just use it on screen, but if you do want the hard copy sent to you, we will send it. So it's actually your choice. As
and
to
some
what
people, we're finding people are preferring to use that electronic. They annotate it on their iPad or tablet or whatever, but completely up to you how you study.
Yeah, absolutely. I like a hard copy.
Jamie, there will be PLT courses in New South Wales in November. The dates for November 2021 up until September, October 2022 haven't yet been published, but they're on their way, aren't they, Jackie?
Yes, they're just being signed off by our senior executive committee and our board and all those very important people, much more important than me and Anita. They've all been decided, but I think pre-lockdowns there was some talk that we maybe, they were deciding if what was be online and what will be face to face, but obviously the situation has changed with Delta. Yeah. I've just come out of quarantine myself. Excellent.
Is there anything we have missed or any last minute questions?
Policy work which applies. You know what? We have a lot of people working in policy. I would put in a form for that, Amy. Absolutely.
So a question, if I'm starting a graduate role at a law firm and they're sponsoring PLT, are you responsible for enrolling? So yes, you will be. You will actually have to go through and fill out the enrolment form because that is your personal data and it's a contract between you and the college. It's just that your firm is actually going to sponsor that. Now, if you're at one of the firms that does the PLT through the college as their own separate group, they will send out an email with all of the enrolment details, probably early next year, maybe late this year. Once all of
and
those
it's a special link as well. So yeah, so it kind of depends. So if your firm's like, hey, so it's just you or two of you or something, hey, yes, we'll pay for your PLT. What you will do is, I think on the enrolment link, there's how you're going to pay, cash, credit, well, there's no cash, credit card,
cash,
through, what is this cash stuff you talk about? Through the government fee help system, or your firm's paying, and then College of Law invoices the firm. If it's one of what we call our cooperative courses, which means, let's just, I don't know, Minter Ellison, they're a big national firm, and there's many, many, many more, and so we have a special group. Sometimes there's about 15 just in Queensland, and there's about 50 of them or 60 of them, or maybe even more about that. Yeah. Let's just say 60. It's a nice round number around Australia. That's the situation where we send the lecturers down to the firm, and we actually, what we do is we generate a special code for that group, and then we send it to the HR team, which then sends a email to the, say, 15 Queenslanders that are starting, or 15 New South Wales or whatever, and go, hey, don't enroll online, like enroll online, but use this link. So it's like a private link that isn't one of the links on our website. So that's actually a really good question.
It is a great question, and I would say contact your HR
yes.
that firm and ask them, because if you're the only graduate, then it's going to be a different process than if it's a team of graduates. So they'll be able to tell you. There's a request to just go over the work experience again, Jackie.
Oh, okay.
There's a couple actually. The 15 days work experience again. How many days?
Okay, just 15. Yep. Sorry, what was the question? 15 days of. So 15 days.
Does the 15-day option with the clinical module extend the time frame of 15 weeks if you're doing a full-time course? Yes.
No. Well, it depends on yours. It can, but not necessary. Okay, so let's just say you've got a PLT placement So it depends if you're a part-time student. Oh, so it sounds like 15 weeks you're going to be a full-time student. A full-time student can do those 15 days 2 days at a time. Okay, so even if you're doing 3 or 4, only 2 days will count as a full-time student. Part-time student, you can count up to 5. More than 2, but up to 5. So let's just say, it sounds like you're thinking about doing part-time, full-time. So you're a full-time student with us. Week 1, you're with us full-time, so you won't have time to work. But then from week 2 to week 15, you could be doing 2 days a week, and in 7.5 weeks, I know, the maths doesn't work out, I know, 7.5 weeks at 2 days a week, you're done with your 15 days. Okay, and that will fit in before the end of the 15. You might go, do you know what? I do want to do my placement, but I want to just do my coursework first. And you go through the 15 weeks and you just do coursework. And then after that, you have a placement lined up. They want you full time. And then you can do 3 weeks at 5 days, 5 days, 5 days. So that does extend it, but the first person, it doesn't extend it. So it's completely up to you. You are controlling that as to your unique situations.
Now that 15 days has to be done after completing PLT, and yes, you do arrange that yourself.
Yes. So it's just the normal job that you would be getting. We have a jobs board. So if you go to collaw.edu.au/jobs, anytime an organisation comes to us and says, hey, we want to offer a PLT position, we don't run around secretly and tap just certain people on the shoulder. We put it out very transparently onto one jobs board that everyone can see. And the Queensland jobs have been up and down a little bit lately, but last time there's usually always a lot of New South Wales and Victorian jobs on there. So I would definitely, I prefer to cut down that 75 days as much as possible to get a higher rate as a solicitor. Sure. Yeah. So do it all as much as you can before.
Yeah.
Excellent.
We've got a request for a copy of the timetable for a study plan. So I might ask you to get in touch with Jackie and later on.
Yes. So I'm just going to, if you could, joan@collaw.edu.au, I'll just pop my email in there. So if anyone, yes, if you want that, just send me an email and I can basically pull something out and send that off to you. So and then in that email, let me know if you're planning on studying part-time or full-time. If you're going to be working, I'd suggest part-time, so we can send you, so pretty much it's the same every time. Obviously the dates will be different, but we can tell you what happens in week 1, week 2, week 3, through to week 30.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I believe that's all the questions. Thank you so much for bearing with me with technology. I'm going to either log a job or throw my computer out the window. I haven't decided yet. Maybe both. But I'll get that sorted. It seems to have, maybe the wind was blowing in the wrong direction. I don't know. Life's crazy, isn't it? Okay, so yes, my email address, I did just pop it up there. It's J.
Oh, no, you've posted it to all panelists, Jackie.
Oh, I have to. Sorry about that.
joan@collaw.edu.au.
We can see a private chat, so I'm sorry. Excellent. Okay, I think we've covered everything. There's a lot more information on the College of Law website at collaw.edu.au, so you can see that behind me there. And I hope that's been helpful. I will probably try and record this again in a cleaner version for you to get for Careers Academy. All right, well, we might sign off yeah, feel free to also contact the College of Law through the Facebook page. All the recordings, David, we're going to send you a whole week of recordings after the whole week's over. So I've been sending them as I've been doing them. So hopefully that'll come out to you by the end of next week or the week after that. So that's a great question too. But you'll definitely get every single session that was conducted, and you can pick and choose what you work for. This one might be not this version. It might be a little bit neater and
We'll
Let's
see.
see. We'll see. Thanks, guys. Have an amazing day. If you're on lockdown, please keep safe and keep sane, and go out and get some fresh air when you can, safely, of course, and you know, reach out to people and keep connected to the world. We're thinking of you, and if there's anything that College of Law can do to assist, please let us know. That doesn't include doing your shopping.
No.
So, no, but anything to do with PLT, more than happy to help. All right, stay safe, guys. We look forward to welcoming you into the College of Law family down the track. And Queenslanders, I'll possibly see you on campus very soon. Bye, guys.